Helena Foster, the respected widow matriarch, was much more than a simple figure in Tennessee's elite. With an empire of food-related companies, Helena had built her legacy with determination and shrewdness, at a time when few women held positions of such magnitude. Her indomitable willpower, coupled with her strategic vision, had made her a woman of great influence, both in business and social circles. But behind the image of the powerful businesswoman was a devoted and loving mother. Helena had 3 daughters, Meredith, Charlotte, and Jade. Each of them was unique, raised with a 2-year age difference between them, a peculiarity that Helena always liked to emphasize, saying that each was raised in a different era of her life. Meredith, the eldest, was the spitting image of Helena in her youth. Intelligent, impulsive, and with a voracious hunger for success. At 18, she was a reflection of Helena when she began building her empire. Charlotte, the middle child, was the balanced one. At 18, her maturity and level-headedness were unquestionable. Helena always considered her the glue that held the family together, the peacemaker bridge between her sisters. Finally, Jade, the youngest. She was the embodiment of Helena's tenderness. Although the youngest, Jade had an emotional depth that Helena admired. Her loving character and dedication to the family always reminded Helena of the deeper meaning of love and family. Helena Foster, therefore, was much more than a widow matriarch or a food company empire owner. She was a complex, multifaceted woman who created a legacy not only in the form of her business empire but also in the form of her daughters, 3 strong women, each representing a different facet of their mother. The quiet and predictable life of the Foster family was turned upside down when Helena, the matriarch, fell ill. The robust and energetic Helena was now confined to a bed, her vitality fading due to illness. This abrupt change caused a realignment in the family dynamics. Meredith, the eldest daughter, was forced to mature quickly. At 18, she took on the colossal responsibility of managing the family's empire of companies. In a world dominated by men, the young Meredith was not intimidated. She was a Foster, after all. Armed with sharp intelligence, indomitable ambition, and the boldness she inherited from her mother, Meredith plunged headlong into the world of business. With each challenge, each victory, Meredith became more and more like her mother in her prime. Charlotte, the middle daughter, always the balanced one, chose a different path. When she reached adulthood, she decided it was time to chart her own course. She went off to college, where she became involved in a whirlwind of new experiences and challenges. It was there that Charlotte found love and decided to get married, building an independent life for herself and her new family. She transformed into a strong and autonomous woman, balancing her personal and academic life with a grace that could only be inherited from Helena. Meanwhile, Jade, the youngest, decided to stay by her mother's side. She had always been the most attached to Helena, and the bond between them only grew stronger during the illness. Jade devoted herself body and soul to taking care of Helena, forgetting anything that could distract her from this task. Her devotion to her mother was palpable, every gesture and word filled with love and affection. Even though the family had many employees, Jade made sure to dedicate herself to her mother. Although she was the youngest, Jade showed a maturity and strength of character that few people her age possessed. The Foster family, once centered around Helena, was now disoriented and constantly changing. The 3 daughters, each in their own way, sought to honor their mother while finding their own path amidst the chaos. Helena's illness not only tested them, but also transformed them, shaping them into women that the matriarch would be proud to call her daughters. A decade stretched out like a long and weary sigh. During this time, the distances between Meredith and Charlotte and Helena and Jade only grew, becoming almost insurmountable chasms. Life seemed to have forgotten the Foster mansion, leaving only traces of a once happy family. Meredith, now a successful businesswoman, allowed the corporate jungle to consume her time and energy. "Jade, you know how busy business can be. I need to be present," she justified herself on the rare occasions that Jade confronted her about her absence. Her tone of voice contained a mixture of exhaustion and frustration, but also a hint of indifference that left Jade heartbroken. Charlotte, on the other hand, was immersed in her own life. Married with children, she seemed to have completely forgotten her roots. "Jade, you know I barely have time to breathe. Between the kids and university, I hardly have time for myself," she explained whenever Jade urged her to visit Helena. Charlotte never brought her children to meet their grandmother, an omission that caused sharp pain to Helena and Jade. Jade, however, remained unwaveringly by Helena's side, becoming her mother's eyes, ears, and hands. She cared for her with a love that went beyond filial duty, a love that was unconditional and infinite. "Mom, I'm here. I'll always be here," she whispered to Helena every night, a ritual that provided them with some solace. "Why don't you come visit her? She misses you," Jade repeatedly begged her sisters. But her pleas fell on deaf ears. Meredith and Charlotte's excuses were always the same: "We're too busy, Jade." Their words, which were once only irritating, now sounded like a betrayal. Years passed, and Helena's health deteriorated. Jade continued to stand by her side, giving her the love and care that her sisters neglected. And when Helena took her last breath, it was Jade who held her hand, Jade who cried for her, Jade who made the silent promise that her mother would never be forgotten. Helena's other two daughters, unfortunately, were too busy to notice. The day of Helena Foster's funeral was marked by a gray sky and a silence that seemed to resonate with Jade's pain. The house, which once buzzed with life and laughter, now echoed with the shadow of loss. Jade, the youngest daughter, was enveloped in a cloud of sadness, her red and swollen eyes bearing witness to the anguish she felt. When Meredith and Charlotte finally showed up, the funeral was almost over. Their faces were like stone masks, their empty expressions revealing more of a sense of obligation than genuine sorrow. "Sorry, Jade, business." Meredith began, but her apology died on her lips in the face of Jade's icy stare. The reading of Helena's will was an event that no one in the Foster family expected. The respected family lawyer, Mr. Winston, adjusted his glasses and unfolded the document. His voice sounded like a distant echo to Jade, while his words rooted deeply. "To Meredith Foster, I leave the entire food business empire." The words echoed in the room, each syllable carrying a weight that seemed to sink Jade's heart. A murmur of surprise spread among the attendees, but the next announcement was a real blow. "To Charlotte Foster, I leave all the family farms and properties." Mr. Winston's voice remained firm and steady, but the words seemed distant, as if Jade were trapped in a nightmare. And then came the final blow. "And to Jade Foster, I leave a small cottage in the countryside, the house where I spent my childhood and youth." The room spun around Jade, Mr. Winston's words ringing in her ears. She, who had given the best part of her life taking care of her mother, was being relegated to a cottage. Jade had never been a person of material ambitions, but the idea of being left in poverty by her own blood was too much to bear. Jade barely had time to absorb the shocking revelation, for Meredith and Charlotte, the sisters who should have been her support, quickly showed their true intentions. The family's betrayal, the loss of their mother, the shock of the will, everything was mixed in a whirlwind of emotions that threatened to consume Jade. "Jade, you better pack your things and leave. This mansion is no longer your home," said Charlotte coldly, her voice without any trace of remorse. Meredith just nodded, a gleam of satisfaction in her eyes. Reality hit Jade like a dagger in the chest. She was alone now, expelled from the house where she had spent her entire life, by her own sisters. Stripped of her home and left to her own devices, Jade moved to the small cottage in the countryside with a heavy heart but determined. The cottage was modest, covered in ivy and with a slate roof that had seen better days. The white paint was peeling and the small garden around it was overrun with weeds. However, there was a simple and rustic beauty in the place that, in a way, welcomed her. Jade found work caring for an elderly woman, Abigail Griffin, who lived in the house next door. Abigail was a kind-hearted woman, with a vibrant soul trapped in a fragile body. She welcomed Jade into her life with open arms, and they soon became inseparable. "You remind me so much of my daughter when she was young, Jade," Abigail would say frequently, her eyes shining with affection. Strong, loving, and determined. Jade grew fond of Abigail, and amidst the chaos of her life, found comfort in the routine of caring for the elderly woman and keeping the house in order. Benjamin, Abigail's son, became an unexpected ally in this new phase of Jade's life. He was a man of few words, but of strong and meaningful actions. He helped Jade fix the holes in the cottage roof, tidy up the garden, and install a heater for the harsh winter ahead. "Thank you, Benjamin," Jade thanked him, her face flushed with cold and effort. "You're welcome, Jade. Your family now," he replied with a welcoming smile. Thus, Jade found a new family in Abigail and Benjamin, a family that valued and appreciated her. And even amidst difficulties, she found the happiness and peace she had been seeking. 2 years of laughter, stories, and mutual care passed, and Jade's life became inextricably intertwined with Abigail's. But life is fleeting, and Abigail's health began to decline. The joy she brought to Jade's and Benjamin's lives vanished when she took her last breath, leaving a void that could not be filled. In her final moments, with her trembling hands grasping Jade's, Abigail made a surprising revelation. "Jade, dear," she whispered weakly, "your mother and I, we were friends. Childhood friends." Jade looked at Abigail, shocked and teary-eyed. "My mother? You knew my mother?" she asked, her voice trembling. "Yes, my dear. We grew up together. There's a photo in the trunk in the basement of your house. I would like to be buried with it." Jade's expression was a mixture of surprise and sadness. I will do that, Abigail. I promise." After Abigail passed away, Jade and Benjamin were devastated. But the promise made to Abigail remained, and Jade was determined to fulfill it. And so, a new journey began for Jade, one that would lead her to discoveries that would change her life forever. Jade, with a heavy heart, descended the narrow, dusty stairs that led to the basement of the house. Each step seemed to amplify the pain and resentment she felt toward her mother. She had avoided that place for so long, associating it with the bitterness and rejection she felt. But now, guided by Abigail's last wish, she was finally facing her past. In the dimness of the basement, her eyes found an old wooden box hidden under a pile of rags. Inside it, Jade found a forgotten treasure, yellowed and faded photographs of her mother and Abigail, laughing and playing together in their youth. The sight of the two women, so young and happy, made Jade's heart ache. But there was something else in the box, a small, rusty key with a note attached that read, "To open behind the cupboard." Intrigued, Jade looked around and noticed a discreet lock hidden behind an old cabinet covered in junk. With her heart beating fast in her chest, Jade removed the dusty items blocking the way and inserted the key into the lock. The door opened with a creak, revealing a secret compartment in which various Foster family jewels shone, a hidden treasure that was undoubtedly worth 5 times more than the fortune left to Meredith and Charlotte. With trembling hands, Jade picked up the folded letter that was delicately placed among the resplendent jewels. The words were written in her mother's curved and elegant handwriting, a familiarity that hit Jade like a wave of longing. "My dear Jade," the letter began, "this is the true legacy that I wanted you to inherit. This is the treasure that I kept in the place that holds the happiest days of my youth, the house where I met the love of my life, your father." Jade could almost hear her mother's voice in those words, feeling the emotion behind them. The letter continued, "I know it may have seemed unfair, that you, who gave so much, received so little. But, believe me, my dear, what you have now is worth more than any empire of companies or farms." Jade's eyes filled with tears as she read her mother's words, feeling, perhaps for the first time, that she truly understood Helena. The letter concluded, "You have always been the strongest, the kindest, and the most loving of all my daughters. I leave you this house, not as a punishment, but as a gift, a piece of my heart that I hope will give you the same happiness it gave me. Know that you have always been, and always will be, my greatest treasure." In that moment, Jade felt a deep understanding. The house was not a sign of rejection, but an expression of her mother's deepest love. The true value of the gift did not reside in the material, but in the memory of those precious moments from Helena's life that were now immortalized in those walls and that hidden treasure. And with that realization, Jade finally found the peace she had been searching for. She understood that Abigail knew about the treasure and, as she had not yet found it, wanted to reveal it before she died. With the truth finally revealed, Jade found herself in a position of abundance and power that she had never imagined. The hidden treasure, now discovered, was a fortune that far surpassed what her sisters had inherited. With a sense of poetic justice, she decided to assess her newly discovered wealth. Alongside Benjamin, who had gone from confidant to love, Jade began to outline the future. They spent hours immersed in deep conversations and shared dreams. They talked about traveling together, founding a charitable organization, starting a new life, but above all, building a home. At the same time, news reached Jade about her sister's precarious financial situation. The company Meredith inherited was on the verge of ruin, while Charlotte was selling the family properties to keep her head above water. Jade felt a mixture of sadness and justice upon hearing the news. After all, her sisters had always prioritized wealth and status over family love and care. With a quiet determination, Jade made a decision: she would buy all the properties and companies that her sisters were selling. It wasn't a matter of revenge, but of preservation. She refused to allow the empire that her mother built to crumble in the hands of strangers. And so, Jade Foster, once the forgotten sister, emerged as the true heir to Helena Foster's legacy. Displaying a mischievous smile, Benjamin agreed with Jade's plan. Assuming the role of an advisor to an enigmatic investor, he approached Meredith and Charlotte with an irresistible offer. "Mrs. Foster," he began, his voice tinged with professional respect, "I represent a renowned magnate in the business sector. He has a considerable interest in your assets." Meredith, the eternal businesswoman, raised an eyebrow, her curiosity piqued. Charlotte, on the other hand, was clearly relieved at the prospect of a solution to their financial problems. "Who is your client, Mr.?" asked Charlotte, trying to assess the legitimacy of the offer. "I apologize, but my client prefers to remain anonymous until the deal is closed," replied Benjamin, maintaining the mystery. Unsuspecting and feeling the pressure of their financial difficulties, the Foster sisters accepted the offer, signed the contracts, and eagerly awaited the day they would meet the mysterious magnate who was saving their empires from collapse. Little did they know that the magnate was actually the sister they had neglected and underestimated for so many years. The main hall of Foster Enterprises had been meticulously prepared for the occasion. Shimmering crystals hung from the chandeliers, reflecting golden lights throughout the opulent hall. Important personalities of society, dressed impeccably, were present, exchanging greetings and polite smiles, while the family's formally dressed employees also gathered, curious and anxious. On stage, the master of ceremonies, a middle-aged man in an impeccable suit, raised his glass, drawing everyone's attention. "Ladies and gentlemen," he began, attracting all eyes, I am pleased to announce the new owner of Foster Enterprises. Please welcome Jade Foster." The curtain behind him opened, revealing Jade. She was stunning in a blue silk dress, with a triumphant gleam in her eyes. The crowd fell silent, stunned, while Meredith and Charlotte paled. The expressions of shock were slowly replaced by palpable desperation. Jade walked to the center of the stage, taking the microphone from the master of ceremonies' hands. With a radiant smile and bright eyes, she began her speech. "You have no idea how pleasurable it is to be back," she said, her voice echoing through the room. Each word was a declaration of her resilience and triumph, a celebration of her mother's unconditional love, and a reminder to her sisters of the price of their selfish choices. Disconcerted, Meredith and Charlotte sought out Jade as soon as the event was over. They approached cautiously, almost hesitantly, a shadow of the pride and arrogance that had always characterized them. Their faces, once so confident, now displayed expressions of defeat and desperation. Meredith and Charlotte Foster asking for help. Who would have thought? Jade observed, her voice dripping with irony, as the two approached. "Jade, please, we need to talk to you," said Meredith, her voice almost a whisper. The desperation in her eyes was evident. Charlotte, always the proudest, kept her head down, unable to meet her sister's gaze. "What happened? The companies aren't doing as well as you imagined?" Jade asked, her tone sharp. She crossed her arms, facing the two. We're bankrupt, Jade," Charlotte confessed, finally raising her gaze. "And the money from the sale won't be enough to pay off all our debts. So, you come to me, asking for help?" Jade questioned, her tone of voice making it clear how ironic she found the situation. "Jade, please," Meredith pleaded, "we apologize. We were selfish and insensitive. Can you help us?" Silence reigned for a few moments. Meredith and Charlotte waited anxiously as Jade considered her words carefully. The scene was a twist of fate that not even she could have predicted. Jade stared at the two broken figures in front of her, the same sisters who had ignored and abandoned her years ago. She felt a mixture of emotions, anger, sadness, but also a strange sense of relief. With Benjamin standing beside her, she felt stronger than ever. "You want to know why I'm here today?" she began, her voice echoing through the empty room. "Because I never gave up. Because, when you abandoned me, I found a new family. When you left me with nothing, I found a treasure. When you kicked me out of the house, I found a new home." The Foster sisters remained silent, their eyes fixed on Jade as she told her story. They seemed like little girls, lost and scared, a far cry from the strong and secure women they used to be. "You want my help now that you're bankrupt," Jade continued, "but what you really need is to learn that true wealth is not measured in money. It's measured in love, dedication, and sacrifice. Something you never understood." She paused, allowing her words to sink in. Then she made her proposal. "I'm going to offer you a job at Foster Enterprises. You'll start from the bottom, like any other employee, and you'll have to work hard. But it's the only help I'm going to offer." Meredith and Charlotte looked shocked, but also relieved. They nodded silently, accepting Jade's offer. With Benjamin by her side, Jade assumed the position of matriarch of the Foster family, proving that true wealth is not only measured in money but also in love and dedication. She had come home, not as the rejected daughter, but as the leader her family had always needed. And so, Jade, the once rejected daughter, became the matriarch of the Foster family. A tale of love, patience, and resilience, Jade's story is a testament that, even in the most painful adversities, there is always a path to triumph. And with that, my dear viewers, we come to the end of Jade Foster's incredible journey. From a dedicated and abandoned daughter to the matriarch of an empire, Jade has taught us that true wealth is not only measured in financial terms, but in the strength of love, the tenacity of dedication, and the beauty of resilience. If there's anything we can learn from Jade's story, it's that we should value those who stand by us, even in the toughest times, and that we should always seek true wealth in life. The kind of wealth that is found in the heart and in character. We hope you enjoyed this incredible story and that it inspires each and every one of you to face life's challenges with courage and determination. Remember, every obstacle is an opportunity to grow and become a better person. Don't forget to leave a like if you enjoyed the video and share this inspiring story of overcoming with your friends. Oh, and if you haven't already, subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications so you don't miss any of our content. Take care, stay safe, and until the next video. Remember, seek true wealth, the one that is within you. See you soon.